Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Leslie's about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that you're probably listening to on a cross-country road trip with your queer best friend. I'm your host from the West Coast, Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida, and we are so excited to bring you episode 2 of season 2, Stranger Danger. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom, we want to talk about live shows, which we're very excited about. We're in the works to get those going. So please let us know where you want to see us. We're really excited to meet more of you in person.
We so want to see you guys in person. It's so much fun to actually meet everyone and get to talk to you guys. We are doing a Patreon push to get new patrons because it's a great community. We've been having a lot of fun with some of the new stuff that we have. We have a Facebook group. We're getting to know a little bit more about the people who support us, and it's been great. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. You get more exclusive access to behind the scenes of the podcast. You get blooper reels. You get videos with some of our guests, and you get to join that Facebook group, and it's a lot of fun. So if you want to join before September 17th, you will get a chance to be featured on an episode. That's a lot of fun. We did it last season. We had a great time. We highly recommend it.
Oh, yeah. And we are ridiculously excited to be expanding more into YouTube this year with more consistent queer content for you. We'll be releasing weekly videos on our channel, so make sure to subscribe, be the first one to see them.
You are not going to want to miss these. They're great.
I'm so pumped.
Other things that we want to talk about, some stuff that's been going on lately. We recorded episode 1 before the VMAs, so we did our whole 2018 and didn't get a chance to talk about Hayley Kiyoko winning Push Artist of the Year, which is amazing on its own. Also, her dedicating her award to queer women of color and screaming 2018 was just delightful. It was delightful.
Will literally be a video played on repeat all year.
It was delightful. It was delovely. So we just want to say, again, congrats, Hayley Kiyoko. Well done. Well done. We're all excited.
Amazing. And we have also another queer woman who has achieved a crazy milestone, which is that Ruby Rose is now playing Batwoman and is the first queer actor to be playing a queer superhero, which is freaking amazing.
As the lead of a show, which is huge. So I know, people have a lot of feelings about this. They'll be coming up in some upcoming episodes, but we just wanted to mention that it's happening because it's still big. Whatever your feelings about the casting, I think we can all agree it's a huge milestone. It's big for the community. And so that's a thing that we wanted to mention in what's happening in the Lesdom.
Yes.
It's like we have a segment for the Lesdom and things going on in it.
And that's that for this week in the Lesdom.
We didn't really plan out a sign-off for these, so we're just going to end with, that was this week in the Lesdom.
And back to you, Ellie and Lee.
This episode, we are super excited that we're going to be talking to Zoe Chao, the star of Strangers, which is a Facebook Watch series. If you haven't watched it yet, Season 1 is out, and we are right in the middle of Season 2 out on Facebook now.
Hey, Zoe, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
For our listeners who aren't familiar with the show, could you tell us in a brief synopsis, what is Strangers?
Yes, totally. So Strangers is a dramedy series on Facebook Watch's platform. We are in the middle of rolling out the second season, like you said, and on every Sunday at 9 p.m. a new episode comes out. We have 3 more of the second season to unveil. So season 1, my character Isabel Song has to rent out the extra room in her home to a revolving door of eccentric guests. So each episode features a new stranger, and it's about her navigating the messiness of her late 20s, her newfound bisexuality, and the things that one can learn in the most unexpected places and unexpected people. And then in season 2, we move from Los Angeles to the great city of New York, and Isabel becomes the renter. So each episode, she auditions a different neighborhood and borough in an effort to find the right home.
So the move from LA to New York, that mirrors your life too, right? Because you were filming in LA before, and now you are filming in New York. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Actually, a week after we wrapped season 1, I moved to New York.
Wow.
Was that planned, or?
Yeah, I mean, season 1, man, there's so much of our lives. When I say our, I'm referring to Mia Ladovsky, who's the creator and writer and executive producer and showrunner and director of the series. We've been really good friends for a very long time, and much of our lives is woven into both of these seasons, but specifically season 1. And so it's really hard to parse out, like, what inspired what. But yeah, I had always wanted to live in New York. Yeah, it's been a great move for me.
So this is your first time living in New York?
It is, but I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Providence, Rhode Island, and so is Mia. I mean, New York is its own strange land, and it feels very new to me, but there's also something familiar about just being back on the East Coast, because I was on the west side of the United States for 8 years, and in many ways it does feel like a return to home.
So tell us a little bit about how Strangers kind of came into creation. I mean, it's something you and Mia sort of dreamed up together, created together.
It was her idea. She came to me and was like, "Hey, I have this idea." We met when we were 3 years old on the first day of nursery.
Oh.
Yeah, she was crying. She was a young 3-year-old and I was an old 3-year-old. So by the time I went to school, I was like, "Let's do this." And I was like, "Come here, kid, stick with me." And we went on to, be on the same soccer team and trick or treat every Halloween. And she left for a year to go to boarding school, but for the most part we were at the same school all the way until we graduated, and then we went to different colleges and then refound each other in LA. And she was doing at that time a ton of Airbnb because her job took her everywhere, and she was assisting directors and then was a producer for this production company who ended up producing Strangers. And so she had this gem of an idea and said, "What if we did it together?" And that was like 4 years ago.
But I have to ask, what exactly is an old 3-year-old? Is that like it's a 3-year-old who's seen more wise in the ways of the world, like a 3-year-old who's seen some shit? Like,
good question, Lee. It's that my birthday's in September, so.
So you actually mean, you like legitimately mean literally older 3-year-old?
Yeah, right. So like
Okay.
She was young for, how if you're on the cusp, you can either. She was like,
I get it.
She's a year younger than me. Her birthday.
Yeah.
And so, and I just think that's actually a really big thing when you're starting school, and it can really set a tone,
No, it does. I'm picturing like a 3-year-old like smoking cigarettes in the corner of the playground. Like, I'm not your average 3-year-old.
I've been waiting for this moment forever. Let's get it poppin'. And Mia was like, "I could use some more time with mom and dad," which I would have been the exact same way a year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mia is, for all intents and purposes, Cam, and you are Isabel in some sort of way.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this series is an ode to that, our friendship. Isabel I think of her as a hybrid of the both of us. But yeah, Cam's physicality is more of a Mia, I would say, like 5 years ago.
And so what parts specifically of the friendship do you think most closely resemble yours and Mia's?
Oh, man. I think style-wise, Cam is dressed very much out of Mia's closet from a certain time. And I think also a lot of my clothes made it in first season. Mia is, she's kind of been directing me my whole life, our whole life. But she gets excited about things I wear and then is like, can we get those denim shorts? And I'm like, she has like a steel trap memory. So that's a really boring example of how our friendship is weird.
The closeness between you two and the like years of history and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, we were like, gosh, there was a three sort of like the Belle Epoque of our late 20s. We were just living together and just like navigating weird Los Angeles, just bouncing all over the place and hooking up and making mistakes and commiserating and stressing the F out about career stuff. And really this project came at a point in our lives where, oh man, like we were still reaching for dreams. We had these dreams, but like I was working at Chateau Marmont, Bar Marmont, and she was assisting really wonderful director. And it was like, but wait, we would like to be doing this thing that we've set out to do and haven't done yet. And so it was such a great vehicle for both of us.
And because of Strangers, you are now doing the thing, yes?
Yeah, which is just mind-blowing. We were hanging out on Tuesday night. We went to this premiere of this movie, Skate Kitchen, which is a really cool new film out about a bunch of girl skaters. And
amazing, I'm in.
Yeah, and we were just like in hot, sweaty New York, just like with both of our backpacks on, just like figuring out what we were doing. And it in some ways was so reminiscent of like life 4 years ago, and in some ways so like, whoa, here we are on the other side of this massive ride that we've been on together that's been really like challenging at times on our relationship too, but like it was so gratifying to be just like, to just return as friends and just bouncing around, and in some ways a lot has changed and in some ways nothing has changed.
Well, you use the word vehicle, and so I want to jump in a little bit to some of the things that we love about the show, about Strangers, and how it has so much representation. Because there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
we were basically
representation.
saying, we were like, every underrepresented minority is represented, and it's just like this beautiful... Yeah, it's this beautiful, like, conglomeration.
There's so much in there.
People.
It's the world that Mia wants to live in, which is really great.
So one of the things that we wanted to start with was, first of all, as someone who is sort of playing like a leading character in a series like this as a woman of color, which still is, not all that common to find these days. One of the things that we wanted to know is what would you say was like the first time that you felt like you saw yourself really represented in media?
Yeah, it's such a good question, Lee. That's what's been so moving about leading this show is that I look back and try to remember like who were the women that I turned to in the media to sort of understand my place in the world. And it was like, I've said this before in other interviews, but like, it was like Tia Carrera in Wayne's World, Connie Chung on the nightly news, and like Christy Yamaguchi, in like the 19 whatever Olympics. And never once did I feel like, that's an extension of me though. I was like, those are three Asian women that I see sometimes
on screen. Yeah.
But it was really confusing, and it has remained confusing and that is like the most moving part about this whole experience, is that there are young Asian American women coming up to me on the street being like, dude, you're me and I'm you. And I get to watch you. Like, I just spent the weekend with you. And like, it's crazy. I've never seen myself reflected by the media. And that to me just makes my long arm hairs stand up. And I'm just like, this is great, because my sister and I didn't have that. And I remember we were doing an interview with Sarita Choudhury. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name wrong, but she is iconic. And she plays Cam's aunt in season 2. She was asked like if there was any other character you could play on the show, who would it be? And Sarita said Zoe's role, Isabel, because I never got to be sort of the protagonist who moves through the world and responds to it. And I was like, I would have killed 20 years ago to have watched a series with Sarita in this part. And I needed it. And it's 2018, and in a lot of ways it seems like, wow, we're only just doing this. But to foreground like a face like mine, which doesn't just land in the Asian checkbox, which doesn't just land in the white checkbox. I'm very much biracial and am received as such. It's been an interesting ride.
Well, and I think it's not just less common to see any sort of non-white person lead, like in the leading role, in that protagonist role, but also especially for queer audiences, like seeing someone in that role, in that position, who's also queer is even like less and less common, like getting the queer characters of color is like non-existent.
Totally radical. I know it because it does sometimes feel like the only otherness that we as people of color are allowed to claim. No, that our race is like the only otherness that we are allowed to claim. So to put on top of that something else that is like challenging for heteronormative America to grasp, like, it is very special that I think especially in season 2 we're exploring Isabel within the bi sphere. So she's biracial, bisexual, and now bi-coastal.
Oh, I wish you could see my face because my face is not up on Skype. I'm like close to tears. I just feel like it is so meaningful to have you in this role. Yeah. I just wanted to say that. So I just really, really appreciate it. And that's why we wanted to have you on. We're so, as queer women, it's so hard to see yourself represented that it's amazing to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Getting emotional.
Yeah, no, I'm getting goosebumps again. It feels like the luckiest thing ever to be a vessel for this, because it really should be so many different actresses and actors in my position, and I hope that's coming, and to be a part of the change is really monumentous for me. But it's also it's also really. It's been an interesting thing because I, as Zoe Chao, do not identify as bisexual. I am straight. And in the past 4 years, it's consistently been something that I worry about because I do think the queer narrative should be represented by queer individuals. But I do very much understand what it is like to move through this world as not the dominant or the accepted norm. And it's really cool to foreground a positive bisexual narrative. My sister is bi. Actually, she identifies as pansexual, and she daily assures me there's no shame in being straight.
we say all the time. I feel like we have that friends too. Yeah, and family that we love who are straight. It's okay.
Right, but it is. Yeah, it's a wild thing because I am really sensitive to that, and the highest compliment anyone has ever said was that they could not believe that I was straight.
Says a lot about your acting.
I will say
You're
there are
it.
straight people who play it a lot less convincingly on screen. There's definitely that for sure.
Jenny's wedding.
Oh, cough. We don't know what we're talking about. But
fine,
no, I
it's
mean,
fine.
but it is. I think, I mean, absolutely. We always say, like, it's great when you have queer actors getting to play queer roles. That doesn't mean only queer actors can play queer roles, but I still think, in terms of what we see on screen, I think what I love about Isabel is that she's exploring her sexuality still, but she still is very confident in that sexuality. It's new, she's learning about it, but it's not, like, I think it's something that we've talked about in episodes that we've done in the past is, like, bisexuality is a real thing. It's a valid identity. It's not always, like, this gateway identity, like, I think Cam calls her out at one point in the first season about, like, you're such a self-hating lesbian, you can't stop calling yourself bisexual, and, like, that is a real thing that people get told and hear, and so I think having Isabel's character be so confidently bisexual, even while she's kind of figuring out what that means for her, is great.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's so great to hear. Yeah. I mean, it's often demonized or entirely like looked over, and because I think it is it defies categorization. Like it's like a real threat to the dichotomy, and
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really cool that Mia was like, let's try to shift the narrative of queer.
Yeah. Well, and I think shifting the narrative too, the other thing that I love about that, and it's such a small thing to have made its way in, is I loved when we meet Isabel's brother in season 1 that Ezra's adopted, right? And he's white.
Yeah.
And I just love that because I feel like it's such a subtle little thing to flip on its head, that I feel like most of what we would see in the media would always be the other way around,
Totally. And also that I have a white mom. My mom is white and my dad is Chinese. But, often if you ever see, I mean, the more typical union is like an Asian woman and a white.
Yeah, the stereotypical that you would expect. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we're subverting every chance we can get, which sometimes feels like a lot in one episode, but
it's great.
The thing with it though is like to be real, like as a queer woman, it seems like a lot, but it's also so realistic to at least my experience. Season 2, episode 5, I was obsessed with because this is the episode where Isabel goes to meet Mari's friends, and it's all queer women and one straight woman in this scene, right? And I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's so ridiculous," right. And I was like, that seems like way more normal than if like Mari was the only queer woman in her friend group, so there's so many things that maybe seem different because they're not mainstream media, but they are real. And
you brought up a point just from the questions I was looking at, about how like Cam and Isabel's relationship, it's a platonic. It's between two queer women who are platonic. It's a platonic relationship, and I know it's just so funny to me that that's like a challenging idea.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we had an entire episode called When Sally Met Sally, basically about, like, can queer women be friends, right? I mean, the conclusion that we came to is obviously yes. Right. But there is this idea that...
Well, everything's sexualized, right? When it's, like, not understood or known, it's like, well, then it's got to be sex all the time. Well, maybe female and male, like I don't know. It is interesting because you flip it and like, can heterosexual males and heterosexual females be friends? And I have a lot less of those friendships in my life, but that's because I think the men F it up.
Well, it's also, besides even just like what happens in real life, I think also on screen, especially because there's so many fewer queer characters that usually, if you have two queer characters on a show, they're there to date each other. Like you have one and then it's like, oh, here's the bit character that's going to be brought in to be the romantic other in that whole thing. That's all there is. So yeah, it kind of just creates this idea of like, how could two queer women possibly be friends?
And similar, it's really interesting. One of my dearest friends, Cass Bouguet, who's a really talented actor in LA, she is writing a pilot, and she was saying, like, I want you to play my best friend because, like, it's very possible. It is realistic that you and I are both half Asian and friends, but when do you ever see two Asian people in a scene when it's not, then that's not the whole point of the scene. And that's also really cool about Strangers is that, well, one, there were a lot of Asian American women on set, which was rare for me. And two, there were several characters where that was not the topic of the scene and we were just existing. And I was like, why does this feel so crazy to me? And I'm like, oh my God, I have never been on a set where the person I'm looking at looks like me and we're talking about not what we look like. And so it's all at once like so benign and radical.
What was that like in general? Because I think the behind the scenes of Strangers is pretty female heavy as well.
Totally. Our DP, Hillary Spera, is such a badass. The writer's room was like 9 people. There was only one man who was gay. And yeah, I mean, just women are
Token gay man. Gotta have him there.
heading most of the departments. And it's just also to be directed by female directors is just, I still haven't found an articulate, concise way to express how game-changing that is, to really trust and be trusted and to do intimate scenes knowing that you're going to be looked after. And that's not to say that there aren't male directors out there who are great, but just to feel what safety feels like is pretty phenomenal.
Unfortunately, in this world that we live in, there is this underlying tension when, especially like you said, when you're doing intimate scenes and that kind of stuff, it just feels much more comfortable with other women. Also, like, as a queer woman, obviously more comfortable with other women, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it's just like it's been such a male-dominated industry. I mean, and that male gaze, that lens is so familiar. You don't even really notice. It's until the alternative is presented that you realize the difference. It's not that you're like always carrying that around and considering it or being reminded of it or it being shoved in your face, but to experience the alternative and to have certain concerns just completely erased from your mind just allows you to do the work that you want to do so much more pristinely. And it's just such a gift to experience that at this age because, I'm sure there's been so many people that have just never gotten to work with female directors.
Amazing. Yeah, and so Mia was the director, and she also is the writer, correct? Or just the creator of the series and other people write the script?
Mia wears all the hats. Along with Nina Bieber, she was leading the writer's room too. And so she is, the creator, the showrunner, the executive producer, one of the writers, and directed 4 of the 10 episodes this season.
I would love to just speak on you. I mean, you're talking about all these people working behind the scenes, but what's the most, I guess, striking thing about having a woman write the stories that you're telling? You know, having a woman there telling our own stories.
Wow. Yeah. There's such, I think this whole series is led by empathy and I think listening, which is just to me strikes me as 2, traits that women are powerful within. Also, talking about like female friendships, I think the exploration of female relationships, no matter what, romantic, non-romantic, familial, non-familial, in this series just seems so distinctly written by women.
What you were saying before too about, the it's not like you sit there all the time and say, oh, this is a male gazy thing until you experience the contrast between not having it feel that way. I think you can tell when something feels genuine, and sometimes it's small. Like I'm trying to remember where I just saw someone who was saying like when they read a book or like a story and they were like, the number one way that I can tell something was written by a man is if a female character takes like a full envelope of some important document, puts it in the front pocket of her pants, and then sits down in the scene. And they're like, a man obviously wrote this. Like, come on. No girls' pockets are that big. Like, that's impossible, you know? And so it is. It's like sometimes it's the small
Details,
things that you're just like, right, it just doesn't click right, you know?
I also feel like just in terms of, you know, what we wear, how we look like as actresses, it takes up such a big part of the brain, unfortunately, during the process of making something. And it was just so cool to intrinsically know that Mia had our backs, like that she's going to make sure that we feel comfortable first and foremost, and then she's going to make us look good too. And it's going to be, and because she is a woman and like knows how our bodies work and like and I mean, those conversations were so open and fluid, and you know, that never really happens. You're you know, thrust into like a very tight dress.
Here you go. We open on a close-up of your ass. And
well, yeah, and I think even like in the last episode that I watched, you were wearing like overalls and a long sleeve shirt, right? Like every part of your body was covered, but like you still look great. Like it's like, yeah, you're comfortable, but it's like obvious, like it's still flattering on your body.
Yeah. And it's just her attention to detail is really special. Her power is so female to me in like the best sense of it. Like, and she's such a powerhouse, and this show could only have ever been created by her. I also just want to say, like, as a 31-year-old gay woman, to have her own show at this level is so incredible and unheard of, and demands such like self-confidence and determination and ferocity. Yeah, I'm really proud of her, and just I feel very lucky to be a part of this experience.
We're proud of her too. We're proud of both.
Thanks. Thank you.
I do want to go back a little bit further because you were talking about positive representation of female friendships. And I think it's really important to note that positive doesn't necessarily mean painted with a rose-colored brush. Isabel and Cam, they're best friends, but they fight. Like, they deal with things. They're honest with each other.
Thanks to Leisha Haley, they deal with things. Cough, shout out.
As an actor, like, I just hope for a few seconds of real life that I can help make on screen. It is really exciting to me to watch Cam and Isabel negotiate their long friendship, because it's shifting. It's like my friendship with Mia, like, we are in very different places than we were 5 years ago, emotionally, politically, socially, like physically. And there needs to be a real flexibility, I think, in all relationships that you want to take with you. And I mean, this has been a huge learning curve for us, to work with your best friend of 28 plus years on a project where the stakes are so high for you both. I mean, it's been a career-defining project for both of us, and the pressure that comes with that, most friendships don't have to hold. And so we have learned a lot about how to stay honest and real and supportive and safe with each other. And I think that that's reflected a lot in Isabel and Cam's relationship. There's bouts of selfishness, there's bouts of tone deafness, there's bouts of, you know, like, what your best friend, like, navigates all your mistakes too. And so...
frequently making them with you.
Yes, totally. Not wanting to enable, wanting to support, but also like, you know, yeah. So it's, I think that's one of the most important aspects of the show is Isabel's relationship with Cam.
On the complete opposite side of that, I mean, obviously you and Mia, who have known each other for so long. You also work with a lot of different guests on the show. You frequently getting to make out with them.
Oh, all of them. Yeah. By the end of season 2, I was just like, I don't know what I forgot what lips are supposed to do. Like, or like other things that lips do. I was just like, they just kiss everybody.
So who would you say was one of your favorite guests to work with?
Stephen Henderson is such a badass actor. It's incredible that that he graced us with his talents, and humanness. Anyone in specifically that you're thinking about? I mean, Jemima Kirk is badass. Jermaine Clement of our pilot. Also, like Ex Mayo, like the people that play like my best friends. Ex Mayo is just, she plays Robbie. It's incredible to be in like makeup trailer with her every day and be like, this person is about to get so famous. And she's like not even a little bit like deterred. She's just like, I'm ready. I've been ready forever.
Yeah.
But she's also like an incredibly brilliant, passionate, and real person too. Anyone you're thinking about?
I could have a hunch as to who was Ellie's favorite.
I just was when I watched the first season, I binged it all in like one night, to be real. When I got to Leisha Haley's episode, I was just like,
did you die?
Right. Shout out to the L word. I'm sold.
I mean, iconic. It was like
iconic.
It really was hard to play it cool around her because she is the coolest. And to lend like that history to this show felt really important. She's also hilarious and so good in that episode.
Yeah, that episode was brilliant.
Yeah.
I was so sad when it was over because I was like, wait, she needs to be in more episodes.
I know. She really needs
right?
to be a series regular.
Yeah.
Let's bring her back. She also moved to New York, and
I need more therapy.
Yeah, I wanted her and Cam to like get married.
Totally.
Yes.
That's what Cam wanted. That's what we all wanted. We really dropped the ball.
Well, and I'm sure, I mean, for any queer fans of the show, I'm sure that that was just like this shining beacon moment of like, oh my God. Because I know as soon as her face popped up on my screen, I was like, you know, you like sit up all of a sudden, like just so, what?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, absolutely. While I'm talking about queer fans, I mean, not that we're biased or anything, but we always find like queer fans are like the best fans of everything ever.
Seriously, the most loyal, articulate, like emotionally supportive fans that have ever walked the earth.
We were curious, have you had like specific experiences like since taking on a role like this, like any experiences with fans that have really like stuck out or really resonated with you?
I mean, I get these DMs. People are sliding into my DMs. And I screenshot a lot of what Strangers fans say because it's like some of the nicest things I've ever heard in my entire life. What's really cool is it's happening in New York. Like I'm walking, it happened in LA. Like people will stop and say, hey, like I was just spending like all of last week with you. And I think the most meaningful moments are just the young Asian American women coming up to me being like, I am, you know, whatever variation Asian and I am bi, and to see myself on screen through you is just so gratifying. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for watching and finding us, and also thank you, universe, for letting me do it.
Thank you, 2018. being such a year.
2018, yes.
I feel like we have been talking about this throughout, but what were the biggest differences between season 1 and season 2 for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've heard Mia describe it differently, but like for me, season 1 is sort of like more of an incubation for Isabel. Like she's in LA, she has her job, she has there's stability there, but it's about to be broken, and she's aware there's like the panicking and anxiety of knowing change needs to happen and she's not sure how to make it happen. But everybody comes to her, and we are in her home and in her familiar land. And then I think she starts to initiate some changes, and that takes us into season 2, where it's really Isabel meeting the world and going out and seeking adventure and experience and humans. Yeah, and I think LA and New York are very different playgrounds, too, that sort of support that narrative.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby!
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
Politics,
country music,
hockey,
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's only one story. The Only One in the Room has a wide variety of guests, from prisoners to abuse survivors to swingers. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee that Only One in the Room will have a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone.
Yeah.
What about you as Zoe? What has been like the biggest shift from last season to this season?
Oh my God. It's been like a 180. I was really terrified when we did season 1. I think a lot of us were. It was also a much smaller budget. The pilot was shot through AFI Women's Workshop, directing workshop, was then taken to Refinery 29, who produced the first season, and it was the most money we had ever seen, but to shoot a whole season, we had to really make it stretch. And so we did like 6 episodes in like 3 weeks, and it was the first time, a lot of first times. And I had never, I've carried plays before, but I'd never carried like a TV season. And there are responsibilities off screen and on screen that you can't really anticipate until you're in it. It was like the best grad school I could ask for. And so just walking on season 2, I knew how to prep for it in a way that like I hadn't before. And I've also worked a bunch since season 1. And so I'm very comfortable on stage. That's what I did for a very long time. And so to start feeling that comfort on set is really cool. And it allows you to just do better work when you trust yourself. And I think also me and I figured out a way to we did season 1, we did it. We know how to work together now. It was a much bigger scale production this round, and we had some really extraordinary people working on this show, like veterans of the industry who lent us their talent and advice and expertise, and were so really grounded this season for me and for me, I know. So it just felt like 2.0, Strangers 2.0. And now, it went from 7 episodes that all varied in length to 10 episodes that are a half hour. It's a half hour TV show. So it was a 10.5-week shoot, and my skin broke out like crazy because it had never worn that much makeup for so long. I didn't really poop for the entire 10.5 weeks.
It happens sometimes.
I couldn't find time
that's a long time.
It really, I think I had moved things 4 times in 10.5 weeks. It was, sorry, this is disgusting. But
we're going to recommend for our listeners, see a doctor if you go 10.5 weeks.
Yeah, right.
We're happy you're okay.
A lot of things that I felt prepared for and unprepared for. But overall it felt like a much more, we had harnessed some power, and that we were let's do this.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what's next now. You've survived season 1, you've survived season 2, with possibly some internal damage. What's coming up? Is season 3? Is there anything more in the works?
Gosh, we hope. We don't know. we really, really hope that there is a season 3. I think it's all contingent on like people watching and spreading the word. It seems like the show is really word of mouth. And once again, queer fans are coming through. So yeah, I fingers crossed there will be a season 3, because we learned so much with season 1, season 2, and we'd love to apply what we learned to season 3, and just like so many more stories to get into.
So there's the call to action. Everyone's got to get watching.
Yes, please. And then I have a movie coming out in 2019. It's called Where'd You Go, Bernadette? It's Richard Linklater's new movie, starring Cate Blanchett, Kristen Wiig, Billy Crudup, Judy Greer, and myself.
What?
You lost us at Cate Blanchett, and then
I lost myself at Cate Blanchett.
I feel like we're like wrapping this up, but super quickly. What was it like to work with Cate Blanchett? Because come on.
And can we have her number?
Yeah, right. No. I mean, I would love to. Well, what's funny about Cate is that she just she probably doesn't like this, but she levels the playing field in the sense that like she's so otherworldly that like everybody else was like commoners compared to her. So like I was really, the only time I was nervous was around Cate. But like, but she's just the most incredible person and actor. And if someone had said like, who would you love to be in a rehearsal room with for a month leading up to production? I don't know if I'd even know to reach that high, because I think she is one of the most important female actors out there right now. And God, I mean, I could go on and on about the films that she's done and the roles that she's played that have influenced me. But we don't have much more time.
Yes. But that's amazing. Like, yeah, congratulations on that. We're excited to see that movie.
Thank you. It's also a great book. Maria Semple wrote it. And yeah, it's a really quick, fun read.
Very cool. I think it's timely.
Okay, I'm gonna move us into the last segment of what we're gonna do on this interview with you. And so this is a segment that we call Q and Gay. Q and Gay. And if you've never listened to the show before, Q and Gay, they're just basic questions that we're going to ask you, but we also put them up on our Twitter so that our listeners can answer them as well.
Nice.
So, I will start us off with question 1, LA or New York?
New York.
Sorry, Lee.
Hey. West Coast, best coast.
All right. Number 2 is, have you ever rented an Airbnb before? Yes or no?
Yes. Am I supposed to expand on these or just answer them?
You can expand if you want. Have you had any interesting Airbnb experiences?
Actually, I've had just overall really powerful, not powerful. I've had really meaningful Airbnbs. No, positive. That's the P word I meant.
I found myself in an Airbnb. Number 3, where is your dream getaway with a romantic partner? And I have 4 options: the beach, the mountains, camping, or a staycation.
The mountains, camping.
Okay. We're combining.
Yeah. Like in the mountains, you need to stay somewhere. Thus the camp.
You could have like a cabin.
Okay. Yeah. Mountains, and then I guess second would be camping.
Okay. Really? Camping? Romantic getaway camping? It's fine. It's your answer. You own it. I'm judging your answer. It's fine.
Wait, what is your answer?
I don't know. I guess I would say the beach, because you're like in little like bathing suits and
I would say the beach too. I'm down.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what I realized is that I'm more of a mountain person, because I don't know why. I mean, I'm from Rhode Island, so that we got the ocean, but I like the ocean too. I feel more things in the mountains.
So this is not out of nowhere for anyone who has not seen the show. There is an episode where Isabel gets walked in on in the shower with what's Haley?
With Haley, yeah.
Yes. So the question is, have you ever been walked in on while you were with a partner? You don't need to expand, just a yes or no.
Unless you want to.
Yes.
That's it. We're not expanding.
I'll expand. The Science Museum. Children's Science. So that's my bad.
The Children's Science Museum.
I know, that's really my bad.
What about you, Ellie? Have you ever been walked in on?
I don't think so.
Really? Not even in college?
Oh, wait, yes. No, I totally have. Sorry,
come
I totally
on.
have. I don't know if this really counts, but it was in a car in a parking lot, and somebody literally got into the car next to us. I was like, hey, guys.
I had a college roommate walk in, came back. She was supposed to be in class, and her class got canceled, and she, came back to the room when she wasn't supposed to be there. And my favorite part is she walks in, very obviously, walks in on us, and, is like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry, leaves, right? Leaves, closes the door. 30 seconds later, walks back in again without knocking to go, I'm so sorry, I forgot a book I needed, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
We're like, why would you walk back in and not knock at least?
Why didn't she knock?
Yeah.
Oh my, well, one time I actually walked in on someone else. I had a roommate, and I was your roommate. I was so tired. I wanted to go to sleep. And so I went into my room and I was like, I need to sleep. I saw them and I literally didn't say anything, just walked by and got in my bed.
Well done. Well done, Ellie.
Yeah, that was rough. I shouldn't have done that, but
you needed to sleep.
I was so tired. I didn't even care. I was like, do what you need to do. But
also, it's such a weird concept. Let's throw two random people into a room to live for a year, and at the height of sexual exploration, or and then not that. I mean, that's just.
While your hormones are up to here, let's just,
It's not good. It's not good.
So on that note, question 5. What is the longest best friendship you've ever had? And again, we have options. 1 year, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or your whole life.
My whole life.
There you go. From old 3-year-old to now.
Yes. And I just wanted to know really quickly, how are you guys friends? What's your story?
Oh, you want to tell the story, Lee?
I do. So we actually met, Ellie and I both do a cappella, and we met at an a cappella convention that takes place in Berkeley, in the Bay Area. So we met, what's funny is we met 1 year at an a cappella convention where we immediately bonded over...
being gay.
Being gay, yeah. I mean, basically, but really we have a lot of high school groups that come and perform at the festival, and one of the high school groups had these little high schoolers in it, female groups, and they had 2 that were so obviously whether they knew it or not yet, they're little baby gays, and we immediately were like, oh my God, I want to take them home and just cuddle them. They're so tiny and cute. And so then we immediately realized, this is a thing. This is a thing.
And then we pretty much I feel like we would text all the time about gay things, and then we were like, hey, why don't we take this conversation on the road,
Amazing.
And now we're here.
Well, here's something a little interesting. I did a cappella for 7 years.
What?
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. Let's do it. We're starting a band, you guys.
Actually, more than 7 years, because I did, 3 years in college, 3 years in high school, and 1 year in middle school.
Who did you sing with in college?
They were called the Chatter Talks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are the oldest all-female Brown University a cappella group. And my sister,
so cool.
My younger sister, was a Chatter Talk, too.
Oh my God, it's in the family. That's amazing. I love it. I love it so much.
My a cappella roots are deep. I love a cappella.
We do episodes called Should Have Been Gays, where we talk about things that should have been gay.
Yes.
And probably our most popular episode to date was the one that we did for Pitch Perfect. Heads up on that one.
Great.
Pretty great.
Small world a cappella. I love it.
I love it.
I love it so much.
Same. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much for talking to us. It was amazing. And remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at LesHangoutPod. And Zoe, if people want to find you, where can they find you online?
Totally. My Instagram handle is Zoe Chao, ZCHAO.
And before you go, we do want to let everyone know that Zoe will be taking over our Instagram the same day that this episode is released. So make sure you follow us on Instagram at Les Hangout Pod and follow Zoe at Zoe Chao for that Instagram story takeover.
And thank you so much for joining. This was awesome. And now it's time for Hip Hip We're Gay.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 we're gay.
Just a reminder, we love hearing from all of you. We love getting your emails. We love, seeing your tweets and your comments on Instagram. So we just want to shout out some of our favorite things that have been going on lately.
And for us, if any of you follow us on Twitter, we had a pretty wild week with our season 2 promo. But
yes.
We really wanted to thank everyone who retweeted and shared our tweet about Twitter censoring us. We got over 1,000 retweets, and Twitter it was crazy. The support was incredible. Twitter sucks, but you guys are amazing. So we just wanted to say thank you. And to let you know that Twitter did finally let us run our ad after all of the commotion.
Well, you can't see us. We're both rolling our eyes, but they did kind of give in. And I think it's a good example of when, kind of making some noise can make a difference. So we appreciate everyone who helped support us and who got the word out about that. Also, we want to shout out again our top tier Lesbian Jesus patrons. So shouting out Amy and Ellen,
Kayla Kelly,
and Lizette Stye. Thank you guys.
And remember, you can find us on all the social medias at Les Hangout Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
You can send us an email at leshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at leshangoutpod.com.
And make sure that you subscribe so you'll be the first to know when there's new episodes coming out.
And we're also going to be posting every Wednesday on our YouTube channel this season, which we're really excited about. Our first video of season 2 out this week. So make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/leshangoutpod.
Woohoo! You can support the podcast in a bunch of different ways. If you want to become a patron supporter, you can check us out on bit.ly/lespatreon. We are super excited about season 2, and we're really trying to get our Patreon numbers up. If you become a Patreon before September 17th, you will be entered in a drawing to be featured in a season 2 episode.
And if you want to show your support and get some merch, you can find us on bit.ly/lesshop.
If you want to follow us individually, the best place to find me is on Instagram and on Twitter at LSHFoster.
And the best place to find me is on Instagram and Twitter at EllieBrigida. And with that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.